I'm Daniel. We have our amazing cast, and welcome back to Asians Read. Every week, we sit down and we read an Asian-themed tabletop role-playing game and provide critical analysis on the depictions of Asian cultures and people. This week, we are on page 43 of the Legend of the Five Rings core book. We're going clan by clan. So if you didn't tune in last week or didn't watch the YouTube video, the YouTube VOD, we covered the my favorite, the Crab Clan, last week. Still my favorite, even though it's the only one I know about. I just know that don't like the Unicorn Clan because of their backstory, and I think the Scorpion Clan is pretty hateable from the perspective of Asian representation.
Crab Clan is cool because we learned that there's secretly like a whole Biohazard Resident Evil micro RPG that can be played with them on the wall.
Yeah, it's literally just Resident Evil set in Rokugan. But if you are new to this stream, welcome. What we do is we take a structured approach to reading L5R. This stream is all about creating conversation, introducing new perspectives, because we've got a variety of different people here, and of course, creating spaces for new voices in the TTRPG industry. So in terms of new perspectives and different perspectives, we have Sar, who is probably the biggest L5R fan that I know. We have Sar. We have Monty, who has actually worked on L5R as a writer. And then, of course, we have Jeremy, writer extraordinaire, who is currently a fan who is slowly consuming L5R content. Yeah. And then there's me, somebody who's never played L5R. And these are our four perspectives for this episode. I'm going to try to go through this introduction every single Friday, because I understand that there are people who might be joining us for the first time. So if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you're, brand new, if you're joining us for the first time, welcome. If you, have been tuning in every Friday, welcome back. Let's get started with the Crane Clan. Please bear with me, everyone. I'm also going to be moderating our chat. This is kind of like the perfect storm when not everybody was able to be here. So let's be respectful and stay awesome. So the Crane Clan. One of the things we didn't cover is that they get a ring and skill increase and stat. We talked about the status, but we didn't cover the ring and skill increase. I don't recall. Crab Clan. Of course, it's fitness. Yeah, that makes sense. So the Crane Clan is a culture skill increase. Same with air. Off stream, sorry, you mentioned that the Crane Clan are basically like the bougie clan.
Oh, yeah. Okay, first of all, I am representing Crane colors. So that is apology, not fealty to the Crane. Okay, because I feel like I'm going to be saying a lot of things that's going to piss a lot of Crane off. But basically, Crane is basically the epitome of culture. Like, they are the best duelist. They are the best artisans. They are the best at court. They want to have the best army. They want to be the best military. They want to have the best strategies. They want to be the best at everything. And they achieve this by saying, this is the way we do it, and this is the best way to do it. And you shouldn't do it any other way. So if the Crane like how a particular pot is made, that's how all pots in Rokugan is pretty much going to be made, because all other methods of pot making is going to be basically shoved to the side and possibly go extinct. So basically, the Crane is in Crane style, Crane kimono, Crane weaving. That's the epitome of
Wait,
Rokugan.
there's a thing called a Crane kimono.
Yeah, there is a card called Height of Fashion. Let me see if I can find it. It's ridiculous.
Okay, it's in the core book,
No, it's a card.
Oh, it's a card. Okay, yeah, just as usual, send me the link.
Yeah.
And we will bring it up on screen. How's my cursor, everyone? My cursor okay?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see it as huge. That's awesome.
Perfect. You know what? Okay, so let's get started. At the dawn of the Empire, after the Kami had fallen from the celestial heavens, they found themselves plunged into a mortal world rife with cruelty and war. The Kamidoji, sister of Hantai, the first emperor, resolved to bring order to this savage realm. The embodiment of elegance and grace, Doji walked among the earthly peoples, calming them in the way fair weather calms a storm-tossed sea. Any crane will gladly speak of how from her humans learn writing so they could record their achievements, politics to govern their affairs, economics and commerce to manage their wealth, and art and culture to lift them from their lives of misery. Those she touched the most became her devoted followers, the first samurai of the Crane clan. Since that time, the Crane have become both the poets and the poetry of the empire. At once the swordsmiths and the duelists wielding the smith's blades. In every aspect of their lives, the Cranes strive for mastery in all things, an ideal that the other clans can only hope to emulate. The Crane clan represents the pinnacle of refinement in Rokugan, and its members are known for their elegance, grace, and mastery of social customs. People expect them to be well-spoken, subtle in the extreme, and unfailingly polite. And then there's this Crane clan subculture over here, and it says, the Crane clan's political and cultural capital are indistinguishable. As a result, refinement, grace, and sensitivity are not the only defining features of the Crane clan, but chief among its weapons. Those who fail in achieving excellence fall into obscurity and the silent shame of countless unspoken criticisms. We also have, if you are a Crane character, you have a strong awareness of the politics within Crane lands, which I don't know why they put that, but it's kind of a given. You know the state of political affairs, you know what the T is, you know proper etiquette and protocol in the capital. You have a working knowledge of the high arts and the great masters of old. And then what does Bushido mean to the Crane? Courtesy is of deep importance to you, as your clan's political power rests upon propriety and the idea of others respecting their proper place and your own. While many members of the Crane clan are deeply brave, courage in excess can lead to foolhardiness. Cool heads must prevail, and sometimes that means avoiding a fight altogether. Okay.
By the way, Daniel, if you ever need a break, like to read, like I'm happy to read a page or a paragraph. Or two, 'cause I know there's a lot in here.
There's so much, and for everyone who's tuning in, we are actually doing this. We're not gonna read Dragon Clan next. We're gonna read everything in this chapter as it relates to the Crane clan. So yeah, let's. What do we think about this? I think for me, the first thing that strikes me is, in pop culture and in books, you always see depictions of samurai as not only masters of war, but also masters of the arts. And that's the impression that I get here. But I think with the Crane clan, it seems that they're all about the arts. They're all about that social aspect of, Rokugan society. So I'm assuming that if you want to play a Crane clan character, you want to play a character that is deeply involved in political drama.
You can play that, definitely, but you can also play a duelist. You could play a wandering duelist that you could basically play. Why am I going blank on the guy who wrote the book of the Five Rings?
Miyamoto Musashi. Miyazaki was a different person.
Yes, Miyazaki wrote Miyazaki: The Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Yes. You could play Musashi as a Crane character.
As I guess as somebody who has become obsessed with mastering a certain style of swordsmanship.
Yeah. You could play somebody who's obsessed with being the best duelist in the Empire. You could play a Daijoji who is obsessed with having the best strategies, being recognized having the best strategies on the battlefield.
Right.
So it's not just about the Crane being artisans. Absolutely, they are artisans. They are called the left hand of the Empire, of the Emperor. So they are the political arm of the Emperor.
Wait, the crab or the crane?
The crane.
Okay.
The The crane. Sorry, the crane is the left hand of the emperor. So
do they call the crab the like steel-toed boot of the emperor?
no, more like I guess like the shield of the empire.
Oh, okay.
If anything, but here's the one thing that you got to understand about the crane though. You again art everything currency everything is a weapon to the crane. But here's the reason why. Their best and biggest strength as a clan is diplomacy.
Right.
They are.
You see, that strikes me as really interesting because when you're like, you know what, the Crane clan's power is in their ability to be diplomatic, and so in the narrative, does that manifest from their clan's connection and status? How does that manifest if you're playing a Crane character, like in the beginner box? Like Jeremy, I know you're recently.
I have something. I mean, you guys can finish, but I have something of. I'm somewhat turned off by the Crane clan, which is funny because I play a Lion clan character, and I guess that plays right into the stereotypes. But I'll get into that later. I've
got some beef with the Crane clan.
Yeah,
right now too.
I see some people in the chat actually mentioning certain things that make me feel ill at ease playing a Crane character.
Well, the Crane clan
definitely finish.
The Crane clan basically embodies the model minority stereotype.
Yes, yeah. and it, that kind of like I play RPGs to escape reality, and this I feel embodies certain parts of the reality that I have had to live.
Yeah, I like the idea of like, oh yeah, the Crane clans are all about their connections. I find that fascinating. Right, because it seems like something more interesting than like, yes, we're the Scorpion clan, and we don't care about honor, we care about loyalty, because honor and loyalty are different. But the thing I don't like about the Crane clan is that you have to be good. You have to be the best, you have to be perfect, because that is how everybody sees you. And it echoes the experiences of growing up as an Asian person in North America.
Absolutely.
But in all the bad stereotypes.
We were joking right before the stream started about how there's like an Ivy League of Rokugan. Sorry, you were talking about the Kakita Dueling Academy?
Yes, the Kakita Dueling and Artisan Academy. And
that's a Crane school?
That's a Crane school. That's basically the Harvard and Yale of Rokugan.
See, to me, that instantly kind of creates...
And these are all the straight A Asians who go to the Ivy League schools.
To me, instantly, that makes me kind of not want to play a Crane clan character.
Well, here's the thing. I think if you're sorry, go ahead and then I'll say my point.
Yeah, sorry, you should go ahead.
No. I was going to say it's so they're using the connection. So the Crane to the point again, it's come to the point where yes, the Kakita Dueling Academy and the Kakita Artisan Academy wars have been peace treaties over bitter enemies have been brokered by a kid getting admitted to the Kakita Dueling Academy. Alliances have been forged by the Crane allowing somebody to study at the Kakita Dueling Academy.
It's like
so legacy students, like
students.
My parents paid my way into Harvard or Yale, and here I am.
Yeah, you really have no idea how true that is.
You could play like a really douchey Crane character who's like parents paved their way into their entrance into the academy, and then
I'm playing a stereotype of a white kid at an Ivy League school, but in Rokugan. See, the thing with like
a Rokugan jock.
A Rokugan jock.
The Rokugan Breakfast Club. Actually, Rokugan Breakfast Club is something I would be down.
So last episode it was like Rokugan Resident Evil. This episode is Rokugan Breakfast Club.
This is going to end with some guy, like some expelled student from the Kakita Dueling Academy, walking to the sunset and raising his hand in the air like this as 80s tunes play out. Don't you forget about me.
For me, I think with, on one end, the Crane Clan can be like really fun to play because it's like I could play any protagonist of a shonen anime or manga, right? It's like, I want to be the best ninja. I'm Naruto. Fits in the Crane Clan. Or I want to be the best hero. I'm like, Deku from My Hero Academia, or any of those, right? But I mean, those are fun and those are like cool, wholesome stories to tell. But I think where the Crane Clan can bring a lot of harm at the table, I think that lies in this constant devotion to perfection and being the best. right? And I could 100% see me playing a Crane Clan character at a convention and maybe wanting to, you know, cut corners, or me wanting to, you know, relax with my homies. But the GM being like, no, 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 you're in the Crane Clan. You don't cut corners. You do everything right because everybody's watching you. And what, you can't hang out with your friends. You got to keep working. You're that Crane Clan. And playing into the stereotypes of like Asians constantly working, constantly being told that they have to be the best, that they have to beat everybody else, and that is the most important thing. And your status, your cherished status as a member of the Crane Clan, or in our modern analogy, your cherished status as a person of color with privilege, right? That's where the model minority comes from, can be compromised if you don't do what everyone expects of you. And in this case, it's work your ass off in order to be perfect. And if you can't be perfect, then you failed. Right? And they even say, like, the silent shame of countless unspoken criticisms.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a huge, that just makes me think of, you know, family expectations and the struggle to try to, you know, be an individual while, you know, making your parents happy, which is a very common struggle that, you know, every Asian American kid has probably felt at least once in their life. And so it's, you know, I think there's a lot of other emotions going through me when I read through this text, like emotions from personal life, emotions from, you know, what I perceive the Crane Clan to represent within Rokugan. And I think that that's an interesting side effect of L5R being like the Asian role-playing game. It fits in all of these things having to do with Asia, including experiences that Asian people might have encountered. And this, to me, screams like model minority, straight A student, Ivy League student, grew up to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, that type of thing within the confines of a fantasy setting. And at the moment, I'm not sure if
it's icky.
I want to play that. Yeah.
It's like, why didn't you get straight A's in your dueling class? Why didn't you? Ugh. I don't want that. Like, I don't want to have to deal with that at the gaming table.
Yeah, and
yeah,
it carries into the fiction as well. The whole situation, right? Even I've said a lot of good things about FFG, but you know, they do carry that whole got to be the best into the fictions, into the current fictions, especially with the relationship between Doji Hotaru and her deceased father, Doji Satsume, and now her brother, Doji Kawana.
So, like, if you're writing for FFG, and Monty, like, stop me if you can't answer this, but if you're writing for FFG and you're coming in and you're an Asian writer and they said, like, hey, Monty, Jeremy, Sar, or any of the, you know, the Asian folks who are watching us live, and they say, hey, we want you to write about the Crane Clan. How do you deal with this? Can you work around something like this? Is there a solution? Like, I don't think we do enough solutioning on this stream. So what would you do as like a GM, Sar, or as like a writer, Monty, or as like a player, Jeremy, to kind of mitigate some of the harmful aspects of, you know, the Crane Clan lore that is supposed to drive the narrative? And that's a theme we've seen in L5R. It's the lore is supposed to drive the narrative. The Crane Clan is supposed to not like, you know, the Lion Clan. The Crab Clan are they've got their taints. And like the Scorpion Clan are supposed to wear their masks and they're supposed to be sketchy. But like, is there space in L5R to work around those? Be it as a creator for L5R or as a fan of L5R?
I think as a player, first of all, I just want to give a shout out to the egg fried rice that my girlfriend just made me. You guys all saw that Uncle Roger video, right? Where he's like commenting on egg fried rice. So I'm going to be eating a little bit on stream. So, and also shout out to my drink, VLT lemon tea from Hong Kong. Like, this stuff will keep you alive during a hot summer.
Yes.
But going back to what I would do as a player, I think I would probably only play this clan if I was at a table, probably mostly Asian people or other, other minorities. And I would probably just play a character who's kind of like me, like pressured to go to like the Kakita Dueling Academy, pressured to, live up to familial expectations, and kind of ends up going against that in a completely different direction, which is the story that I'm sort of telling with my Lion Clan character. That's a very easy story for me to tell because it's, it draws upon a lot of personal experiences. I have a feeling that my story told through the lens of the Crane Clan would probably be more personal than it currently is told through the lens of the Lion Clan. And that's why I'm not sure if I would want to play this clan at a table of people who are, non-Asian and also very passionate about L5R, because I think my interpretation of the rules of this clan would totally go against maybe what they see as appropriate for a clan member.
Well, what about you, Monty?
Oh wow, that's a really good question. Well, if I was running a game and I had a player who chose the Crane Clan, I think I would spend a lot of time trying to extract like what they like about it, right? And then to try to create, I don't know, I suppose interesting tensions, like when I tackled the stuff I wrote for L5R, I was always constantly thinking of, well, who doesn't fit in these like boxes? Who is trying to push against these boxes? Who is, not happy with these boxes? And so I'm more interested in those kinds of things. Some of the assignments I got, of course, didn't really always encapsulate like the culture of Rokugan, right? But I always was constantly thinking of basically the people who don't benefit from all of these structures. And that was the way I would like kind of tackle it and try to add a like additional layering to like the storyline. So
how about you, Sar?
How
do you handle it? Because you probably played the most L5R out of all of us.
I have been lucky. Like any player that has played Crane Clan and that I've interacted has played Crane Clan has a quote unquote applied their own pressure, so to speak. So it was never upon me as a GM to constantly remind them that that they're still not the best. They were applying their own pressure, and that's kind of like a technique that I actually. If somebody's new and they are playing the Crane Clan, that's actually something I will do. It's like either you tell me how much pressure you're actually comfortable with bearing on this one, and I will be that pressure that like I could look at your things like, and I could if I'm role playing a critic of something like that, and just like if you could use like a little sponge work on their pod, it will turn out a little better. Versus this is trash and just smash on the floor. Which one are you actually going to be okay with between that scale? How much are you okay with? And also, tell me if I go beyond that, because sometimes, it's about communication.
Yeah.
It's about knowing. It's about I need to be able to know what harms you. That's kind of like the one thing. I need to be able to know what harms you, so I can actively avoid harming you.
It's interesting because like all of our solutions so far, and I'll get to mine, have been about not directly playing what is written in the book. It's like the best way to play the Crane Clan is not to play it like it's written, or to subvert what is written. For me, it's like a combination of all of that. Like if I had a player who wanted to play a Crane Clan character, and they were all up. They're like, okay, I really like the Crane Clan. I really like how they strive to be really good at things. I'm like, okay, you could do that. I think we all do that in life. We all want to be good at something, right? But I would ask them, well, what does perfection look like to you? Is perfection found in the journey, or is perfection found in the final product? And then I would help the player navigate that, right? Is perfection something that you internalize, or is it something that your clan sees? And leave that to the player. But the thing that like bugs me about the Crane Clan, it's not that it's like it's no Scorpion Clan in how bad or problematic or harmful it is. But to me, the Crane Clan is like it's this one Asian trope about everyone in your family expecting you to be good and the best. And if you're not, you're a failure. And it's that trope that kind of, I think every Asian person can really resonate with. But like, I don't want to play Crane Clan because I know that I'm just not going to play to what this is. So I might as well play another clan. I might as well play I could still play a Crab Clan member and be like, look, I want to be perfect in how I kill these creatures on the other side of the wall. I want to perfect my research. Like, you know how Emma talked about all the different heads. Like, I want to perfect my research. And I can be a character who is striving for perfection without having that icky, like, every single family member is watching over me. It's strange how literally everybody in the clan is indoctrinated with this ideal that you have to be perfect.
I think the idea of perfection is sort of a stereotype that you often see in Westerners' interpretation of Japanese culture, like thoughts that the Japanese are Zen, they're perfect. There are aspects to them that are so refined. And to me, that is a bit harmful because nowadays you see that logic being applied in an extremely problematic way where, like, you know, white nationalists are a fan of Japan because Japan is this perfect wonderland of homogeny where everything works, you know, just works. And to me, I have a bit of an aversion to the term perfect in general. Like, I think perfectionism is overrated. And, you know, as someone who has suffered from some OCD tendencies throughout his life, I dislike the negative connotations that, you know, that idea of achieving perfection kind of bring to the table as soon as you start dissecting them via a clan like this. And so to me, those are some of the landmines I potentially see myself engaging with.
Yeah, it's like being a perfectionist can be a character trait, but I don't understand why it needs to be a trait of an entire social group. That's mostly my criticism of it so far. But let's move on. So this is the first question of our 20 questions. What is your clan? We're going to skip past here, and then we're going to go to what family does your character belong to? Does one of you want to read this while I moderate chat?
I'll go ahead and take it.
Yeah, sure.
We have the Asahina. They get a water and void ring increase. They get a aesthetic and theology, and they get starting glory of 40 and a starting wealth of 6 koku. By the way, that's the first time we've talked about koku. Just so you guys understand.
What's a koku?
Koku is the currency in Roku.
Oh, okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and chat, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe 1 koku is supposed to feed 1 person 1 whole month.
Oh, okay. So that's a lot of. So say having 8 koku for the Doji family is actually that's a lot.
Yeah, they are a wealthy family. They are considered to be a wealthy family.
I've never played a game of L5R where money has really been an issue. It's not.
It really.
Yeah, it's not like D&D or like Pathfinder or a game like that where you're trying.
Everybody's saying a koku is a year's worth of rice.
Yeah. A year's worth. Wow, I underestimated that horribly.
So this is not a game where you need to accumulate cash to buy new stuff. This is where, you know, in my games I've used koku as like bribes, as a symbol of status, as stuff like that.
Right. It's social capital.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So the Asahina seeks harmony and peace in all things, embodying a philosophy of compassion and pacifism that sets them apart from even their fellow crane. Through art and prayer, they seek to calm and soothe the world around them and spread peace and accord throughout the empire. The Asahina know that only through sacrifice can true peace be purchased, and it is a price they will pay to foster a better empire. That's the Asahina. They are the Shigenja family of the crane. The Daijoji gets a 1 earth and 1 water. They get fitness and tactics, glory of 40, and a starting koku of 7. The Daijoji are practical and hardworking crane who compose the core of the clan's standing military. Devoted to serving their clan, the Daijoji are its underappreciated foundation, from the Iron Warriors who comprise the foundation of the Crane clan's army to the wary Yojimbo protecting the courtiers of the Doji, to the Daijoji Trading Council, responsible for providing raw materials and wealth for crane arts. The selfless effort of the Daijoji are fundamental to the defenses of the crane and the advancement of its goals. And that's the Daijoji and the Doji. Ring increase of air and water. Skill increase of courtesy and design. Starting glory of 44. Starting wealth of 8 koku.
That's so much.
It really 8 years of koku, 8 years of rice. The descendants of Kami Doji have embodied the courtly arts and refined culture of the empire since its dawn. No major court is complete without its contingent of doji spreading art, friendship, and until recently, generous gifts. For courtly news and rumors to the doji communication network is unrivaled. This network aids the doji in keeping ahead of their rivals keeping ahead of their rivals as much as their mystery of etiquette and art does. Rare are those who can afford to offend a doji. Rare still are those who do so more than once. And finally, the Kakita family. They get a ring increase of air and fire, skill increase in aesthetic and meditation, glory of 44, starting wealth of 7 koku. While the doji seek excellence in all things, the Kakita tends to focus on a single skill which they strive to master thoroughly, whether this skill is the art of the sword or the brush. They pursue it with a singular focus. The graceful Kakita usually exhibit the beauty of the crane in a more athletic manner than do their doji cousins. They are renowned as some of the finest duelists in the empire, and graduates from the academy defend the honor of the crane with sharp finality. That is the family of the crane.
Somebody said, and I wonder, I'm going to assume that this is an actual thing. Somebody said, what was it? The Kakita's job is to be the baddest motherfucker in the empire and look fabulous while doing so.
Oh, they do. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Yeah.
See, if that was what you put, you just need to strive to be a bad motherfucker, and you're always going to look good. I'll be like, that's me. I want to be there. It's interesting because a lot of these, it feels like they lay off of the whole Crane Clan idea of perfection.
But here's the very interesting thing: the Crane Clan currently is in the middle of a civil war.
But that's only something you would know from.
I would, but here's
things,
the
right?
reason. But here's the reason why, and here's why the Crane being in a civil war makes absolute sense. These 4 families do not belong in a clan together.
Yeah, they're all very different from each other.
They're very different from each other. The Kakita, they're singular focus. They want to duel everyone all the time. The Doji, they're the masters of the court. The Daijoji, they're the military family.
Mm-hmm.
And the Asahina, they want peace. None of these families are together, but they're actually pretty much bound through. The Kakita family is bound to the Doji by marriage, and the Daijoji is related to the Doji family because the first Daijoji was the son of Lady Doji and Kakita, and the Asahina was kind of plopped into the crane, by purely a little bit of an accident, to be honest. So. All these families, they do not belong in a clan, but yet they are. So it actually makes perfect sense that, the Crane are in the middle of a civil war right now.
And why do the Lion clan have this animosity with the Crane clan?
The Crane, the Lion thinks that the Crane are sneaky. They are. If the Crane is the left hand of the Emperor, the Lion is the right hand of the Emperor. They are the Lion is the military might of the Empire, and they do not trust the Crane. They think the Crane is weak, and the Crane is all they can do is just manipulate the court using their words, and they can't back anything up with steel.
Okay.
So the Lion is saying, "Yeah, you know what? You can say all that thing in court, but let's see what happened on the battlefield."
Because when I played through the beginner box, I was the Lion clan character, and everyone around me was like, "Okay, you got to play off the animosity between the Lion and the Crane, and get really into that." And I didn't really understand exactly why that was the case. And I mean,
the biggest thing that's the biggest beef right now between the Lion and the Crane is Doji Hotaru in the first Lion Clan fiction. Doji Hotaru killed the Lion Clan champion in the first Lion Clan first Lion Clan fiction.
It's
yeah.
I find it so interesting that like honestly, I'm constantly in like Sara, and I like to heap praise on all of you whenever we can. Like, I'm so impressed by your knowledge of the L5R world and the fiction, and like it puts a lot of this into context. But I also think that actually demonstrates one of the biggest weaknesses of this book.
Yeah. I've said it before.
It's crazy.
I can't be at every store.
You can't be at every store. You can't be at every table. And like when I'm looking at these Crane Clan families, I'm like, I mean, Kakita, they sound interesting, but again, it plays on that trope of like, I'm the samurai and I want to go duel everybody. I don't find any of them like interesting at all.
I do not find any of them interesting.
They're boring. It's like, hey, look, we want peace, and then like we're the soldiers. We're just here to fight. And then the others are like, yes, we're the snobby cranes, and these other ones are like, oh yes, those lowly soldiers. They lack our skill and refinement. It's like every single trope.
That you just did what every single crane LARPer do.
Yeah,
what you did right there. That's every single crane LARPer.
Honestly, I don't find them particularly problematic. What I find them is boring, and they're honestly like super one-dimensional.
We talked a lot about the Crab Clan micro RPG on the wall.
There's no micro RPG here.
Well, for me, I would turn it into some kind of like I would turn it to the Breakfast Club, like Rokugan, where it's like school drama, and you're playing as different members of the clans, and turn it into like a school anime slice of life type thing, or even like a Romeo and Juliet Baz Luhrmann style, or like two different clan members fall in love with each other. Just go down that route. That's what I would do.
Honestly, if I were to make this an 80s movie, I think the perfect Crane Clan character would be Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But here's another thing. If there was a Real Housewife franchise in Rokugan, it would not be the Real Housewives of Otosan Uchi.
Who's that? What's that?
Otosan Uchi is the capital of Rokugan.
Oh, okay.
It's the seat of power. It would be the Real Housewives of Shizuka Toshi, which is a city in Crane Lands.
See, I think like that's the only way I would probably be interested in Crane Clan. If you go in these very specific directions,
the extremes.
These extreme directions, or these kind of almost comedic directions, that to me is worth playing in. Like if you're going to have a table full of all crane people and it gets very petty and it turns into just like housewives as you described, like that to me is kind of funny. But otherwise,
how long would you want to play that for?
Maybe 2 sessions.
1 or 2 sessions, right?
1 or 2 sessions.
It's like even if you were playing by the book. And you were like the Kakita family. It's just like, oh, great, I want to be the best duelist ever, and I want to look real good. And it's just like, that's that would get boring after a while if you didn't have another element that was driving you to be more. It's like, I want to be like the greatest like swords master in the land. And I'm constantly looking for my rival. It's like Ash from Pokemon and Gary. And you're constantly encountering your rival. And I think that might be interesting in a story, but it's like, it gets boring after a while.
Yeah, but you don't have to be the Crane Clan to do that.
Exactly.
I can do that as any clan, and there's a thing here. I can take Sworn Enemy as one of my adversities in game, and that can be the way I work that into my story.
And that's why these are boring. It's like every single element that defines each of these families is something that any character can have.
Yeah.
Right.
The strength of the crane, if you are going to play a crane in the RPG, the strength of your narrative is going to be your interaction with other clan members. Like you said, the interaction between you and a Lion Clan player, the interaction between you and a Unicorn Clan player. By the way, the Unicorn and the Crane are allies. Interaction between a Crane and a Scorpion, because if the Crane's to the left hand of the Empire, the Scorpion's the underhand of the Empire. So it really is if you are going to play a Crane, your storyline, your story choices is going to be dependent on other characters, on other players. and other clans.
Yeah, and that's, again, where this game really struggles. This game struggles in that you, A, need to know the lore, and B, need to have a group that is willing to work together to tell a story that isn't bound by harmful tropes.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you just played this by the book, if we, like, I don't know, made an AI read L5R over and over again, and then we asked it to write out an L5R screenplay, it would just be full of problematic Asian tropes.
You should get an AI to watch, like after this entire book has gone through on Asians Represent, get an AI to watch all of us, and then have that AI come up with a Biohazard Rokugan, you know, Romeo and Juliet like type thing.
Wow. That would be great, though.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
So let's move on. There wasn't any art. Is there anything significant about this crane armor?
Ancestral armor of the crane from the old card game.
Looks pretty cool.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, where are we? Question 3. What is your character?
Question 3.
What is your character's school, and what role does that school fall into? Okay, so then let's find the crane schools. Where did those ones start?
Page
I think
6. For me, it's 62 if you have the hard book.
Yeah, 62 in the book.
Okay, cool. So Asahina Artificer School, Shigenja Artisan. Let's start with I'm going to start with the sidebars because I think those are going to be important to contextualizing all of the mechanics behind this. Let me do something quickly. This might help. Boom. The Crane Clan is concerned foremost with preserving Rokugani culture and ensuring civility in the courts. To that end, the courts of the Crane Clan inculcate proper decorum in all their students regardless of their primary curriculum, so much so that the Crane are sometimes perceived as priggish or haughty by members of other clans. Crane samurai are also expected to have at least a basic appreciation for the arts if they are not artisans themselves. Again, it's like stereotypes about Asians. It's like you got to know martial arts, but you also got to know how to play piano or violin.
These honestly, and this is a very kind of intense reaction, but these honestly remind me of the descriptions of people in Karator from Oriental Adventures.
Mm-hmm.
Like a little bit, just because they're talking about, you know, kind of the in broad strokes how a certain group of people has to be the best in something, or how they regard culture and stuff like that.
Yeah. Again, it's like these are things that I feel like a player can make a choice to include these elements in their character, but I don't think it should be bound to them by like the clan that they're a part of. Anyways, so I think the second sidebar text is not as important because this is more of a game mechanic thing. Art and religion intertwine for the Asahina, for to them, faith, beauty, and peace are all aspects of the same truth. The Asahina take any opportunity to teach their philosophy and try to improve harmony in the empire. Their focus on the creation of beautiful things is simply another aspect of their attempt to spread art and peace throughout Rokugan. Many a conflict has been diffused by an Asahina religious ritual that presented a peaceful path forward. The Asahina do their utmost to live their pacifist ideals in a world fraught with conflict. It is arduous, but they persevere, secure in their beliefs. Okay. And then their rank 6 skill, which we've been reading every time, Stir the Slumbering Spirit. Once per game session, as a downtime activity, you may take a what's TN?
A target number.
Target number 4 Artisan Void check to awaken an item's spirit. If you succeed until the end of the game session, it becomes a Nimuranai.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Nimuranai.
What are those?
Basically, magical items, magical trinkets.
Oh, cool. With a sealed invocation of your choice based on the item's history. The GM is the final arbiter of the appropriateness of any invocation selected this way. Okay, that's pretty cool. Like you could literally
cool,
spend
yeah.
time with an item and be like, I want to learn more about this, and this item is filled with, potential. The only thing I really don't like is how they really reinforce in L5R, and this is just nitpicking. I realize that. I get one per stream. But that they always say that they always reinforce this idea that the GM is the final arbiter of what's appropriate.
This game has a lot of GM fiat. Kind of like how 5th edition D&D has a lot of DM fiat. Like in my experiences playing this game have been a lot of like DM being like, okay, you can do this, you can do that. Tell me how you want this to be. Okay, it succeeds. Okay, it fails.
Mm-hmm.
So once again, it goes back to the fact that if you have a good GM, an empathic GM, I think this could be a very positive experience. But a bad GM, even one who's enthusiastic about L5R and knows the lore, like this could be disastrous.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is true for any game, but I mean,
yeah, but this game encourages
it.
This game encourages it. They're like, the GM is the arbiter of appropriateness. That I really don't like. Because what if I'm an Asian person at my table and I'm at a con and I'm like, I want to do this, and my white GM, who maybe doesn't know anything about Asia, or maybe doesn't know anything about the Asian themes I'm trying to bring out, because I'm the Dragon Clan, right? And they're like, no, we can't do that. I'm like, what?
He's like, I don't know how much you know about Japanese culture, but I'm an expert.
But I'm an expert. Yeah. And it's like, hey, look, page 62. I am the final arbiter. I hate that. But that's my one nitpick of the entire stream. What about the rest of you? Like, I feel like obviously this is a very interesting one because it encourages you to, play a game and not seek violence. But you're going to have to deal with the other players at your table, right?
You are.
So
and just because you're not actively fighting does not mean you are not creating things to actively fight with. These magical trinkets, they can be passed around. They can be given from one person to another. So you can go and create it and give it to another person, and they could use it to fight. So yeah, the Asahinas are pacifists. They don't actually, lift an arm to harm anybody, and their trinkets may not directly cause anybody's harm. But just like anything, just like a hammer in itself is not inherently evil, but you use it to bash somebody's head in, and it is evil. So that's the thing with the Asahina, and they know it.
Yeah, but do you run into the paladin problem, right?
Yeah.
Where you've got this character who's got very strict, moral ethical thing, and then conflicting with other players, right? Because it's built into the game, kind of thing.
Yeah. So if you're going to play an Asahina, you're going to be basically a priest. You're going to be playing a cleric of something. You're basically playing a cleric class of some sort. You're healers and you buff people.
Right, I guess that's how they work in game.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gone to that yet.
I like the idea of them, awakening an item's spirit. I like the idea of them creating artifacts and, teaching philosophy. But I don't find them particularly exciting. That's the main thing.
The one thing this is the story about how the Asahina family came about. The Asahina was originally the Asahina family is a mess. This is why I hesitate telling this fiction complete at all, because there's like about 18 different versions of this, and I don't know which version I'm telling. The Isawa Asahina was the Phoenix's elemental master of air, and the Phoenix and the Crane fought a war, and basically as retribution, the Phoenix elemental master of air marched the entire Phoenix army down to Crane lands, and there was just one lone doji that stood in front of the army and said, I'm not going to let you pass. Isawa Asahina pelted that woman with so much spells, but that woman just stayed still. I'm not moving. He kept going. He kept pelting that woman with so much, with the fury of God's own thunder, really, until the kami refused to listen to him anymore. And he was so moved by the woman's pacifism that he He swore that he'll never take up arms ever again, and he was going to join the Crane and devote his life to pacifism. That's how the Asahina family came about.
That's kind of interesting. I don't see anything like wrong with this. I just see other people at my table making my experience as an Asahina like bad.
Yeah.
I think what's somebody in the chat, radiological contamination, brought something up and said, one of the things I like about L5R is that many of the Bushi classes still have access to Shuji and are able to do social stuff. It's not like the D&D fighter where you're fairly useless in a non-fight situation. Now, being useless in a non-fight situation in D&D as a fighter, that's really a problem of the rules. But in D&D games in general, you could still be a very social fighter if your GM isn't, isn't, I guess, resolving social conflict with dice rolls. That's what I don't like. I do like how a lot of the characters, if not all of them, in L5R have social skills built into the game. But it's how other aspects of these social skills manifest in like strife and honor and unmasking that I think are bad. L5R does a lot of really good things that D&D doesn't, but then they kind of take these really good things and, slap something from like a legacy version of L5R, or they slap their own mechanic on it that just makes them bad. Like, strife is not inherently bad. I like a character who's torn and has all these emotions inside. But what I don't like is how every character has to have this.
My experiences dealing with strife in-game have been fairly positive. I will say that. Yeah. I will say that kind of the social gameplay of L5R is definitely superior and more interesting to, for example, 5th edition D&D, which I think is kind of far too simplistic in that aspect in general. But my experience with strife, and once again, this is because my GM is decent with handling these things. It's been always kind of like leading to unique twists in the story rather than just like, all right, you explode and have a tantrum. But I know that some people really dislike that mechanic as well. And some older players of L5R, I think, also hate the emphasis on strife in 5th edition, from what I understand.
Yeah.
I saw a negative review of 5th edition L5R by someone who just says, it kind of devolves into a game where it's all about kind of like tittering samurai kind of controlling themselves before having outbursts. That person didn't like that. I mean, that's one interpretation of it, I guess.
Honestly, the idea of the Asahina would be a really cool like game on its own, just like a micro RPG and it would just be called Stir the Slumbering Spirit. And you everybody at the table would literally have a conversation with an everyday object, and you would just find an object like, here's my Xbox controller, and we're gonna stick it at the center of the table, and we're gonna use game mechanics to resolve what is the history of this item and where it comes from, and at the end of the game, we've now created, a living, breathing history from an inanimate object. But there are still going to be elements of this proposed game idea that the designers would have to navigate, because clearly this Stir the Slumbering Spirit ability is draws inspiration from Shintoism, which is something that you would have to respect if you were to design a game around it. Here it's just kind of offhand. It's like, yeah, they do this thing and it's just this magical ability, without actually saying, yeah, this is a part of their belief system. And I don't know if they cover that in a fiction later on. But they've taken like a real life belief system and they've kind of just thrown it in here as like a cool ability.
We'll get into it more with Unicorn. Oh.
Okay. Unicorn and Scorpion are just like, I'm not looking forward to that.
One thing we haven't talked, like, what do we think of the artwork we've seen for the crane so far?
So far, this piece is not bad. I think it's cool.
Yeah. And what about the crane armor that we saw a little while ago? I don't like as much as the crab armor, but it's still cool.
I don't like the mask. Don't like the mask as much. I like the colors. I think everything is beautiful. Like, if I were to wear armor, I think those colors are dope.
This is the Blue Ranger of the L5R Super Sentai.
It is the Blue Ranger.
This is what Billy would wear.
Yes, definitely. I think it's cool. I think they made the armor look functional, and it still has the the crane symbols and everything.
Once again, I'm a fan of the different clans branding. The crane symbol right on the chest, I like. It looks super heroic.
Right.
Looks like a superhero logo, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I kind of dig it.
Oh yeah, it's cool, and you could tell that like this is the armor of a very rich person. I
Yeah.
wonder what the balance would be like on that helmet though, with those two cranes right on the forehead. But I mean,
I get
cool.
those are, I guess, replacing the traditional horns and like a Kabuto style,
Yeah.
samurai helmet. So
I saw a picture of a Kabuto helmet that looked like an eggplant. They're really cool.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was at a museum in Los Angeles. But anyways, that was the Asahina. Let's go to the Daijoji, because these are just the warriors, right?
Yeah.
So, there we go. The warriors from the Daijoji dojo form the core of their clan's small standing army. They are highly trained heavy infantry who can hold the line and delay the advance of any foe. Many enemies have broken on the unwavering spears and iron discipline of the Daijoji Iron Warriors. When there are no wars to fight, many are assigned as protectors of crane castles or as yojimbo, bodyguards, to traveling crane courtiers. Their watchfulness and solidarity have prevented countless heated moments from getting out of hand, though it is said that most Daijoji prefer the honesty of the battlefield. Again, it's just like, why is this a school? For me, it's why is it a school? It's just like, great. Wouldn't you want all of your soldiers to be disciplined? Wouldn't you want all of your soldiers to be, unwavering in the face of an enemy? And I don't know if in the lore, the Daijoji actually are the primary military of all of Rokugan.
They're the primary military of the Crane Clan. The
Just
lion is the primary military of Rokugan.
So I like the fact that they're, spear users, because I think spears are cooler weapons and swords are kind of overrated. My Lion Clan character did take Iron Forest style, which is one of their katas, one of their abilities. And so that's a ability in game where if you have a spear, you can kind of, like you ever played Soul Calibur, like Kilik, the guy with the pole. It's where you use your spear to like back, multiple strikes, and you make all the areas around you within 10 feet difficult terrain, so people can't really get up in your face. And
My
so
brother
I like
played Kilik, and it was super annoying.
yeah. So I like the idea of them being spear users. I don't find the actual text particularly engaging, but I like their weapon styles.
No, so okay. Here's the thing. The Crane would never send their soldier out anywhere else because they just don't think that no other clan is going to be able to train my people as good as I can. And they may send like one or two of like the Crane Clan champions children may get to go to the Dakota War College, or
what's that?
Maybe like the Dakota War College, which is like basically Rokugan's West Point.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Or somebody from the Daijoji may go there too, but the Crane don't trust the education of their soldiers to any other clans. They need to be able to train somebody else. They need to be able to train people themselves. That's essentially thematically that is why the school exists. Also thematically, you would the Crane would definitely not send anyone to Lion Military School just because of the conflict between the two clans in itself. So the Daijoji Iron Warrior School really operates as a thematic filler because the Daijoji is actually a way cooler family than this. Let me show you Daijoji Uji.
Oh yeah, you've sent me a whole bunch of stuff. Are any of these still
No.
relevant?
Here,
Okay.
This is Daijoji Uji. This is the current his current picture.
Okay.
This is his current card art. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't get the mouthpiece though.
Yeah.
It's it's supposed to look like a beak. I don't know why, but the Daijoji is actually their school. Their Daijoji Bushi school is probably their most boring school,
Right.
because there's also this other thing that the Daijoji has, and you're not really supposed to talk about it, called the Harriers. the Lion Clan champion does not acknowledge that that Daijoji Harriers exist. She cannot acknowledge the fact that the Harriers exist, because to do so would say that I don't have faith in the Daijoji. But the Harriers are basically Crane's shinobi. They are literally, if you think the Scorpion are bad, the Crane don't even acknowledge that Harriers exist.
Right.
They don't acknowledge that Harriers are even in use, that they even use Harriers. But they are even dirtier than Scorpions. They will use gunpowder, where Scorpions will only go as far as poison.
I find this so interesting because we have there are so many layers to L5R. It's like the Daijoji are, the best warriors. They are the military of the Crane, and the Crane are the ones who strive for perfection. Yet, even though
not to mention honor,
of course, but even though they strive for perfection, the Lion Clan are still the primary military of all of Rokugan, which I can't seem to reconcile in my head. It's like we have the best soldiers. We strive for perfection. We make the perfect soldier. But yeah, the Iron Clan are gonna the Lion Clan is gonna do this.
Now we'll talk about this later when we talk about the Lion Clan. But the Lion, there's lots to say about strength in numbers. The Lion has the largest military.
Oh, okay, so they have numbers.
They have numbers.
Right. Okay. So let's their rank 6 mastery ability is to tread the sword. When you use the guard action, instead of guarding one character, you may choose to guard a number of other characters in range up to your ranks in martial arts.
That's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just like what's considered a high rank in a martial arts skill?
Max is 5, so 4.
So you could be like, I'm just gonna protect 4 people at once.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty dope.
Some people in the chat were talking they were equating the Crane clan to Batman earlier, and I didn't really see it. But looking at this character and looking at protecting a whole bunch of people at once, I guess I can kind of see it a little bit. But I'm still not.
Or is it the Harriers that are like Batman, Crane Batman?
Oh, maybe it's the Harriers.
The Harriers, yeah. Let me see if I could find a picture of a Crane Harrier. Basically, it's basically a ninja in blue. Essentially, is what it is.
A Power Ranger.
A Power Ranger. It's literally the blue Ninja Ranger.
Okay.
Because if I can use the Crane Clan to play like Rokugani Batman, then I'm more down with the Crane Clan than I thought. But I need proof of
I need
proof of that.
I don't know if this is Batman.
No.
Let's see.
It really isn't. I mean, we have a nickname for Daijoji Uji. We call him Shredder.
I can see that.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Is there a picture that you guys are looking at?
That's the last picture I linked.
No, that's just the current one that's being shared.
Oh, okay.
For me, I'm thinking about the art now because that was the last thing we look at, and I'm like, man, that trident does not look Japanese. And I just want to check. I've never seen anything like that. I've seen Japanese pole arms that feature multiple points, but that one is something. Maybe
I think it's meant to be like a yari, but it is more of like a trident than a yari.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I won't nitpick that though. Otherwise, I think the art's pretty cool. I don't see anything wrong with it.
Yeah. No. So this is a Harrier. This is literal. Literally called Daijoji Harrier.
Daijoji Harrier. Oh. Is that from the current edition?
That's from the current one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is recycled art.
Yeah, I mean, look, companies have budgets. I get that. I'm not going to fault them for recycling art.
Wait, so Sar, what are the Harriers again specifically?
Basically, they're shinobis. They are shinobis. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Are they the only ones that wear blue?
They do.
Wait.
The crane wear blue, but
Yeah.
generally is wear
Well,
whatever color.
also, like,
it's on where you're on the job.
if you were a shinobi for the Crane clan, and you wanted to be secret, why would you wear your clan's colors?
Right.
Exactly.
But there's no option to play as this in the text.
Is this
Not
a card?
in this book?
Oh, it's in another
Not
book.
in this book. It's in
Not
another
in this
book.
book. There
Okay.
is in Courts of Stone. By the way, there is a Deer Clan in Courts of Stone. Daijoji Spy Master School, which is Courtier and Shinobi.
Interesting. Okay. Is there more art of these sorts of characters? Like more?
Not Harrier specifically.
Okay.
But I know we're getting official like a Harrier school. I think we're pretty sure we're getting an official Harrier school when the Scorpion source book comes out because they are Shinobi. So, but we don't know.
I just don't understand why you would wear such bright colors and the colors of your clan if you're doing a clandestine mission.
Yeah.
That's like any world, like that's like the JTF2, Canada Special Forces, going on a mission abroad, and they just wear like red and white, and they wear maple leaf camo. Like I get the purpose of this is for art, and you're meant to see them, I guess, and they're all about fashion, but like that's just asking to get shot.
That really is, especially at night.
There's some. I'm looking on Google Images. There are some cool pictures of these characters, like Daijoji Uji. I think there's some cool pictures.
Yeah, Daijoji Uji is. I linked it. Basically link. I'm linking new art right now.
Okay.
Every art that I'm pretty much linking, except for one character which we talked about, Kakita Toshimoko, I'll be only linking art from the LCG.
Some of the old Daijoji Uji art is just like Shredder from the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's why we call him Shredder.
Okay, that's a thing.
That's the thing. We call him Shredder.
I mean, some of these are
I think this is cool. Like this does like kind of attract me a little bit more. But I wish this aspect of Crane Clan was in the text here. I feel like this is a very interesting thread that the clan possesses that is completely left out of this book.
Yeah.
But my question to you is like, we're looking at Daijoji Uji and we're like, oh, that's pretty cool. But like, aside from like the crane motifs on the armor, can't you just be that character in any clan? Like, I could still be a crab clan and be like a badass warrior in armor. Like, what about the Daijoji Iron Warrior makes it unique compared to other warrior classes?
Someone said Strider hear you in the chat.
Oh!
Yeah, if there you go. Like, if I can play as Strider hear you, then I'm down with Crane. I just need that at my disposal.
But it's not in this core book, so
yes.
Okay, let's move on.
So the
Doji Diplomat. Let's talk about how that art looks like a white woman.
I'll go ahead and pull that art.
Is this so? This is a known character.
That's not it. It's a card. It's not a named character.
Okay. Let's start with. Okay. Let's go to the sidebar text here. Some samurai travel with an aide sent by their lord, a lower-ranking samurai they keep on retainer, or an apprentice. Oh wait, no, never mind. That's not relevant. This is just about creating an attendant. Huh.
So it's interesting. You mentioned that this art looks like a white woman, and you brought up how some of the other art depicts people who are supposed to be Asian but do not look like Asians. And I'm curious. I wonder if the artist was an Asian person themselves, because this art makes me think of how Asian people in Asia tend to depict themselves.
Yeah. Well, like in anime, or in video game character design. They tend to. I think an Asian person in Asia would look at this and be like, "Oh, she's Asian," but I think a person living in the Asian diaspora would be like that. That kind of the hair and the expression does not look Asian.
So the art was done by a company in Indonesia.
Okay.
Called Polar Engine.
Okay. Well.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
And I did link the I linked the image.
I just threw it up on the screen. Scarlett Johansson cast in the L5R movie.
So that's interesting. Is that image a little different from the one in the book?
It looks
it looks either elongated or like it looks like her nose.
Her face looks different. Her nose looks wider in the book.
Yeah, interesting.
Sorry for the audience. I'm just switching. It looks different.
It is.
It looks like they might have tweaked it ever so slightly because that artwork of her that you're showing, she looks more
Asian. Wait,
really?
I think the current one? No, she does. You're
this
right.
Current one?
The one that I have on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks white in both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I still see this like an Asian person drawing kind of the popular image of Asian people within East Asia and Southeast Asia, but it's interesting. There do appear to be subtle differences.
Oh, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Most cranes bleach their hair white.
So why is that a thing?
I'm not 100% sure. All I know is it's tradition.
So they all have really, really brittle hair.
Yeah, they bleach their hair white.
Okay.
This be like a bride with white hair reference or something like that, or
I mean, like women with white hair are featured in Asian mythology. It's not like this is like they're trying to look like white people, and people get gray hairs all the time. So I wouldn't consider that a thing.
Yeah. No, but I forgot to mention in case anyone was wondering, why do all these crane people have white hair?
Somebody, it's to honor the founding of the Daijoji family.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, but, okay. So it's to honor Lady Doji's son. He came back from the Shadowlands with stark white hair. Does that mean he's tainted?
Got that Shadowlands taint.
He wasn't tainted.
Did they all get like Ultra Instinct and gain that power in the Shadowlands?
It's just all white hair.
Right. Yeah.
Oh no!
What?
No, somebody just said taint head in the chat.
Oh! No. Okay. So, do we want to read Daijoji Diplomat School?
Yes. Do you want to read it?
Sure. No one plays the game of court better than the crane. After all, their clan wrote the rules. The Doji Diplomats choreographed the courtly dance of favors exchanged, gifts given, and the right people invited to private gatherings. The Doji are always on the leading edge of fashion and culture, and Doji diplomats need never use an unkind word. Their silence speaks volumes. And a simple gesture says even more. Their network of favors, gifts, and invitation allows them to weigh the ebb and flow of the social side of the empire and adjust the scales to their benefit. And their rank 6 ability is the Lady's Grace. Once per scene, you may spend 1 void point to reduce your strife to 0. When you do, each friendly character in the scene may reduce their strife by your honor rank.
Wow, that's really good.
Hey, is that
really
good?
Powerful.
Yeah, that's basically you can influence
reset button.
Yeah, you can reset an entire social scene. You can bring complete, get rid of all of your strife and make other people do the same. That's pretty huge.
Interesting. The name, the Lady's Grace. I'm assuming this has to do with something in the lore.
Yeah, the founding of the crane is Lady Doji.
Oh, okay, cool. See, that would have been a good footnote. I would have been like, "Who's the lady?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I feel kind of indifferent on the diplomat because I get it. It's like you navigate the social world through your connections and reciprocity and gift giving. I don't know if I'd want to play this personally. That rank 6 ability does, when you described it, does sound like super powerful. But,
yeah,
but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the rank 6 ability is really impressive, and in the right hands, I can see this being an interesting character. I probably wouldn't play it either, but I think in a court drama, which is I think the arena where the Crane clan excels, a character in this Doji Diplomat School would probably be a necessity.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that I was going to talk about. I was going to post old art for anyone but Toshimoko. I lied. I have to do this because one of the clan champions from the CCG to the LCG got gender swapped. He used to be Doji Hotori. Now he's Doji Hotaru. This is Doji Hotori, by the way, and this is Hotaru.
Hotori is the first one?
It's the male. Yeah, Hotori is the male. Is the first one, and Hotaru is the second one.
Okay, let me grab that one, and I'll just open this in a new window. Ooh, I like the new one.
Yeah.
Also,
Oh, nice. Yeah, new one's really cool.
the new one's super cool.
The new one's awesome.
I really like that, like a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
This
Like-
is isn't this the character I mentioned in the very beginning of the book?
Yep.
Doji Hotaru. Yeah, and
Oh,
I remember hearing this character's name a lot in my early games.
I think this is my favorite L5R piece of art so far. I really like this one.
It's right now it's only appeared in a fiction, in an L5R fiction. But that I'm pretty sure that's going to be a card at some point.
That's super cool.
Yeah.
It would that's really nice. That your hair is just gonna get up all in your face though when you're fighting.
It really does.
But like
It
for the
does,
for the sake of the flying hair, I'm down. I like this art.
Yep. So
Yeah, somebody said like you got the Tomoe Gozen vibes with the Naginata and yeah.
And
and this apparently this is a queer character?
This is a queer character. She is in. It's not a. She is married to a male, whom also may be a fox spirit. But she also has a very long-term relationship with Bayushi Kachiko, the wife of the Scorpion Clan champion.
Interesting.
Drama.
There is big drama, and yeah, there is big drama on this, and we will talk about the triangle between Kachiko, Hotaru, and Shoju when we talk about the Scorpion, because it's just way too much to talk about with the crane.
Well, some folks are saying like, I want a game about them. You know, you could do a game about them. There is, you could do Starcrossed, and just play a game of
Starcrossed,
Starcrossed.
like Romeo and Juliet. That's what I'm talking about. Just lean into that.
Just lean into that one specific thing. I feel like our L5R, our L5R stream has this sort of like subplot of us just basically recommending other games through which to tell L5R stories.
Yeah, or like basically deconstructing this entire book and being like, okay, here are the micro RPGs we want to play, and
Yeah.
using this, here's how we would run our L5R game, just kind of like throw out the lore and
Not
okay,
using the
everybody,
L5R dice.
yeah, Breakfast Club L5R, Starcross Lovers L5R, on the wall with Starcross Lovers L5R.
I honestly, I'd play an L5R Starcrossed game. Oh, maybe
You
Steve,
definitely could.
maybe Steve and I can do that. We'll play an L5R Starcrossed game.
There is a crane character also, Katrina Ostrander right now. She is the lead story, the head of the story team for Fantasy Flight Games. She had an L5R character. I think I mentioned this earlier. Named Doji. I can't remember. But anyway, that character is a non-binary character. They present as male and female. Sometimes they're the female persona is Lady Shike, and in both as a male and female, he is carrying on a relationship with a Lion Clan Bushi.
I like these game ideas. They're not L5R. I really like this character. I like the design. It's awesome. I mean, even the old one too. I think it looks pretty cool. The armor though just doesn't look right, but I like it.
Did they explain the gender swap? Is that like a lore thing, the gender swap, or just like a reboot of the character?
A reboot. Complete
reboot?
They
Okay, cool.
Fantasy Flight decided to make the Crane Clan champion
Because Fantasy Flight's version of the game is basically a total reboot, more or less.
Complete reboot.
Complete reboot. Okay.
I mean, we say complete reboot, but there are still, like we've talked about. So Somebody
It's like the new
mentioned,
52 L5R.
Yeah. Oh God. Whew.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, I remember when they did New 52. I was like, I have to buy all these now.
Oh God, I don't get me started on the new 52. I have some very strong opinions.
So somebody, I just threw this up on the screen. Doji Shigure. This is the non-binary character? Apparently.
Yes, Doji Shigure. That's the name.
Yeah, that's good art too. Looks kind of like a white person though.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say the quality of the L5R art is consistently top notch.
If I have to say one thing about this game, it's that the art is always amazing. Problematic sometimes, but amazing nevertheless.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the technique. I'm not an artist. The technique and all that is beautiful, but the content a little bit problematic at times. Okay, let's move on.
The Kakita Dueling School. All right, the Kakita Dueling School emphasizes one strike, one kill, seeking for its student to master the one perfect strike performed in Iejutsu duel. For the Kakita duelist, such is the pinnacle of all martial skill. While other martial skills are not neglected, neither are they the focus of Kakita Dueling Academy in Suma. Although some might critique such single-minded dedication, the Kakita duelists are the best in the Empire. Their skill with the katana in this arena complements the doji mastery of court and reinforces the crane political flow of the Empire. The rank 6 is strike with no thought. Once per scene as an attack movement action, you may make a martial arts melee void check, targeting one character at 2 to 3 range using a sheath katana or wakizashi. The TN of this check is equal to your target's vigilance. You immediately move to range 1 of your target, draw the weapon you use. If you succeed, your target suffers a critical strike with severity equals to the deadliness of your weapon plus your bonus successes. And there are opportunities. One suffers days. Yeah, basically it's just ways to upspin opportunities.
Yeah, it's basically like super crit.
Mm-hmm. Super crit, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just want to know more about the lore.
The lore behind this, let me introduce you to Kakita Toshimoko. And this is one that I'm going to have to go all the way back to his first card. There is the first Kakita instance of Kakita Toshimoko. He is the Great Crane. He is the best crane in duelist. He is the sensei of Doji Hotaru and also her uncle. He is a bit of a cad. He's definitely a womanizer. He's good and he knows it. But that art, I need to say, WTF.
Yeah, I mean that's just David Carradine.
The hell is this?
That's just David Carradine.
What the WTF? What is that?
It's just David Carradine.
Also, what's up with his sword? It looks like it's broken.
Yes, first of all, the sword. Let's talk about the sword. I don't know what sword that is. I don't know what angle he's holding that sword in.
I'm assuming this is like 3rd or 4th edition L5R.
This dude looks like Master Roshi or something.
It's Bill from Kill Bill if it was a fantasy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. And what's up with that headdress?
Yeah, how is that? Does it look like it's even like on its head?
How is that? How is that staying on? How is that thing defying gravity?
Well, I mean, even the thing on the wrist too. It's just like,
yeah, and that thing on the wrist too. What is going on here? Yeah, so this is Kakita Toshimoko. This is a better version of him, but I would say still problematic.
And this isn't that. Is this the character that's in? Oh, this is a different clan.
No, this is Kakita Toshimoko. This is after he became the Emerald Champion.
Oh, okay.
The Emerald Champion wears a green armor. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Still looks. The proportions are really weird.
It really is.
The proportions are weird, but there's something about it I can't help but laugh at. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
And the last one is Kakita Toshimoko as he appears in the LCG today.
I'm bracing myself. I don't know what to expect. Oh, looks Asian. Okay.
Okay.
That's a big improvement.
Yeah.
This is a huge improvement, and I just want to show this. Like, this is a perfect example of FFG taking what was extremely problematic with the initial depiction of Toshimoko, and this is where we end up. This is where we are today with Toshimoko. His depiction in the fiction is he may be a cad, he may be a womanizer, but that's not focused on in the fiction as much as it was in AEG's fiction, right? He's shown as a more human character at that. He's actually shown as a decent character.
I mean, FFG has definitely shown that they can make improvements. I mean, we should very much acknowledge that, yeah, they can make improvements and they can change some of the content in L5R. And I mean, that's a great first step. And I mean, this stream has certainly highlighted that. I mean, L5R 5th edition is certainly not perfect, right? But
oh, no.
but they have made improvements. I mean, when you compare it to something like D&D, it's like, well, they're not making as many improvements. I mean, they don't even have rules for like dungeon crawling.
Or exploration.
Or
being a good ranger.
Yeah, or being a
lot of problems.
Ooh, burn. Yeah. So like I'm constantly impressed that like, look, I love it when you show us this old L5R content because, you know, it gives us perspective on how much it's improved. Yes, it's nice to say like, oh, that art really sucks or this art is like a little problematic. But it's also nice to see like, hey, look how much this art has improved. I really like that we do that on this stream. And then it's less like me making Scarlett Johansson jokes.
Got it. No, but Toshimoko, Kakita is, again, like I said earlier, the Kakita Dueling Academy, Rokugan Yale, or Rokugan Harvard. Pick one. Doesn't matter. It applies here. So they have this long-standing rivalry with the Miyamoto because they're the other major dueling school in the Empire, and we'll talk about that in Dragon. We talk about Dragon, but basically the Miyamoto, they says you got two hands, so why when you're dueling, both of them should be holding a sword, and the Kakita says one hand. That's it.
Oh, so it's not like a two swords versus one sword thing. It's like a two hand versus one hand on a single sword.
No. It's a two sword versus one sword thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
This artwork makes me chuckle, like the crane in the background. I'm imagining just like a overly dramatic scene in an anime with some like guy drawing his sword and like a crane.
Oh no! This is if we're gonna make our pop culture analogies, this is L5R Bad Boys. You know, in Bad Boys when Will Smith and Martin Lawrence are standing there and then the helicopter comes over them.
Yeah. There we
in
go.
L5R, it's a crane.
Yeah.
I don't know. This. I think it'd be interesting to play like, oh yes, I'm a duelist. This is what I do. But it's just
at the same time though, it's like I just feel like the crane. Okay, so it's a lot of people know that the crane is definitely not my favorite clan, right? They're not. Like in terms of the clan that I hate the most is the Lion Clan, and the crane is just slightly above that. And primarily the reason why I really just kind of don't like them is because, like you said, they're just a little bit boring.
Yeah, it's just very generic.
It really is, and in addition to the whole model minority thing that goes on with the whole crane thing, it's not a clan that I want to play. It's not a clan that I'll play it if there's already, all the other clans are represented and I have to play crane, I'll play it. I know how to play a good crane. That's just not my first option.
I do want to say something about the art. I'm kind of glad he has a smile.
Yes.
Like the fact
great.
that we don't have yet another humorless Asian person kind of thing going on. At least somebody is smiling somewhere. I just want to point that out.
That's a really good point, Monty. It's a really good point. I just posted the higher resolution picture of this character on screen. I just wanted to take a closer look because I was like, his facial features are Asian.
He looks like
But he's got there's something familiar about
what
this
does he
look.
look like?
It's your grandfather, dude. It's my grandfather. This guy's my grandfather. I'm not kidding when I
Dude,
say
he
that.
looks like Chow Yun Fat for some reason.
Yes.
Yes,
Little.
that's it.
Because if I hold my hand out and I
Yeah.
like block out the hair,
Block out the hair. That's Chow Yun Fat right
Yeah.
there. John
you're
Woo,
right.
a John Woo L5R movie.
literally
with
somebody said that in the
flying
chat.
everywhere.
Somebody said that in the
Yeah.
chat. But I would change it to the Dove Clan and just everywhere. And it would be hyper violent. Can you imagine a remake of Hard Boiled, except it was in L5R and Tequila is like Crane Clan, and it just
Another micro RPG I'm down for. How can we recreate like old Hong Kong action movies within L5R?
You actually can. You definitely can. You
A
got
hard boiled campaign. If someone was like, this campaign is specifically just based on hard boiled, I'd be like, I'm in. Like,
I'm in. No mechanics for reloading, right? No, never. I love John Woo. I love John Woo's movies, including his North American ones. Face Off is a masterpiece. Okay,
The thing about Nicolas Cage killed it for me. I'm sorry.
it's just so over the top. It's like Mission Impossible 2, also super over the top.
ooh, someone posted another. Was that you? No, someone posted another picture of Kakita. Who is this? Kakita
Shinichi? Yeah, I put that up. I put that one up.
Mm.
I think I put that one up, unless I missed that one.
No, I don't
I didn't.
think so.
I didn't put that one up.
That's another cool picture.
Let's see. Oh, that's cool. That's Mark Dacascos.
See, this I like. I like the bald dude representation. This I'm down with.
That's a good point. Can you? Because the Crane are all about having that white hair. What if you're a bald Crane?
What's this dude's shtick? How come he doesn't got white hair? Is he,
Kakita Shinichi.
Kakita Shinichi.
He looks like
one family.
he's got power.
See, I like this guy. This makes me want to play Crane Khan more. See, this is a representation for me. I like this particular image.
I think there's multiple. Oh, there's another cool piece of him, except he's surrounded by these barbarians that look like white people.
Oh wow.
But the art of him looks like
Yeah.
he's smiling, like he's about to kill
Yeah.
them.
Someone in the chat was like, he dyes his chest hair. Well, that's to each his own.
No, there you go. This is a character that I really don't have a lot of information on. He came around towards the end of L5R CCG, and he was just kind of there for a little bit, but that was it. I don't remember a whole lot of fictions involving him at all.
So I just pulled up a piece right here, and apparently this character is Hida Amuro. That's badass. Crab Clan.
Hida Amuro? Oh,
Here, I'll share it.
yeah.
I'll throw it into our chat. That art's pretty cool. Killing these monsters, avoiding the taint.
Yeah. Well, he's here's the thing. The moment he sees blood, he goes into a frenzy, and he cannot be stopped until everything is killed around him, friend or foe.
Oh, okay. I like it a lot less now. I like it a lot less.
That's not old fiction. That's actually new fiction. That's happening in the current timeline. That also happens in the current timeline, I should say.
Is that like a supernatural thing or just his thing?
It's just his it's just his personality. He's the brother of Hida Amuro is the brother of the Crab Clan champion Hida Kasada.
Oh, okay.
So, and he would be a great general. He would be an absolute great general. He has a great mind, except that when he starts killing, he can't stop until everything around him is dead.
That's such an overplayed trope. I have the bloodlust.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that. either.
Yeah, don't care. I like the art.
The art is good.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the last. We covered the 20 questions in our previous stream. So now we don't have to focus on those, and we've just kind of covered the clans themselves. Sarah, I know that you're like Crane Clan. I know you're all about them.
Yeah. No. Honestly, I'm repping them because I felt like I just it's not. I don't have a lot of nice things to say about the Crane clan, to be honest with you.
So I want to ask, and I want to preface this as being like non-confrontational about it. What is it about the Crane clan that you really like?
The one thing I really like about the Crane clan, it's nothing covered in this book, to be honest. Frankly, I'm sorry, it's nothing covered in the core rule book. The one thing that I actually like about the Crane clan, it's oh jeez, Kuzunobu, I think.
Like so far of the Crane clan, what I've seen is I really like this person. She's got the naginata. I like this image of her. I think she looks badass and powerful.
Doji Hotaru. It's he's probably, honestly, I will say this. I really like the way they I really like the depiction of a same-sex relationship with Hotaru and Kachiko, because it's not.
And that's in this book.
That's in this book, and it's in the fiction that they are that they still are, and it's not an antagonistic "I hate you" relationship like it was in the CCG. It's an actual loving, caring, and protective relationship between two women, between two very powerful women, by the way.
Hey, previously you said they're both married, right?
They're both married.
So
yeah.
are these like open marriages, or is this like a secret relationship, like a Romeo Juliet sort of thing?
In Rokugan, you can have as many lovers as you want, as long as it doesn't embarrass the other party, right?
Of course.
Now,
right.
Here's the thing, though. Whether or not Doji Hotaru and Bayushi Kachiko, if they were a male-female couple, if they were a male-male couple, or if they are as they are now, female-female couple, the wife of the Scorpion Clan champion having a relationship with the Crane Clan champion is scandalous no matter what.
Of course, because of the clans, not because of their gender.
Because of their gender. It's just scandalous because of their position.
Yeah, I get that within the lore. That makes sense.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I actually love about the way FFG is depicted, because if this was, believe me, if this was 2000, 2010, or even 1995, the scandal would have been that they were gay.
Of course, but now it's just like, oh my god, it's a crane and a scorpion. I guess, but I guess fans already know this.
Fans know this, and there was a huge, there was a backlash. There was a backlash.
Was there? Of course.
There was a huge backlash when they gender swap Hotaru. There was a backlash about the gender swapping, and there was a backlash about the gay relationship.
Of course there was.
Of course, right?
Yep.
You know what? I honestly respect that. Like, I wanna make sure that I mentioned, like, me asking you why you like the Crane Clan is not like oh, how could you like the Crane Clan? It's more like I'm curious about what everybody kind of sees in these clans and where these particular clan fandoms emerge, because it's like you don't see that in any other RPG.
No,
right?
a crane player is back in the CCG days. There was the honor victory. When you hit 40 honor, you win. A lot of times it's for players who got used to the game. Sometimes would try to do honor victory, and the easiest clan to do it with was Crane, and because that was their first clan, and they've kind of tried other ways past the victory since their honor victory, but they still have the attachment to the Crane Clan, or they just like the theme of the Crane Clan. They want to play the badass duelist,
right?
Or they want to be the fan fluttering courtier at court when they play an RPG.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see people I know are really getting into the Crane Clan. Like me personally, I do not find these the ideas and some of the tropes that they're playing with to be that appealing, possibly because I think the model minority stuff that we talked about earlier kind of gets in the way. But some of the other things we have talked about, like, the Harriers, Crane, Batman, Shinobi, like Strider, Hear You, stuff like that. A game that's all like, Desperate Housewives or Rokugan or like Star-Crossed Lovers, stuff like that I can get behind. So I think there is potential for me to become interested in the Crane Clan. But on the surface level, they don't immediately grab me like, say, Crab Clan or even some of the others.
Well, I think that's a a perfect example of how like the L5R lore has some really interesting stuff, and there's some fucking amazing art. But it's where like the lore and then the rules intersect that make the Crane Clan way less interesting, at least to me. That's right. They don't strike me as something. They don't feel unique. Like I know what the Crab Clan, I know what the Crab Clan is all about, right? And then there is a lot of variation within the Crab Clan schools that I think are interesting.
You know, here's the okay, so think of Crane as okay. I just thought of this, and I don't think, and this may not be a perfect analogy, but think of the Crane as the human race in D&D.
They're giving me more of like an elves feel.
Yeah, I get the elves thing because they're arrogant.
I get the elves.
They're arrogant.
I'm thinking elves.
And I'm not as into elves personally. So.
Well, yes, thematically they're more.
I'm a dwarf man personally.
Thematically they're more elves, but mechanically they're more human. That humans are just kind of like flat across the board, generic across the board. But yeah, you're right. Thematic wise, they are elves.
Yeah, because it's like, what are, if you were to pick, like, they're like, oh, you could be the duelist, you could be the diplomat, the soldier, or the artificer is like, to somebody who doesn't know L5R, it doesn't read as an artificer. It's like, oh, you are some sort of like spiritualist. And then you go into like the what was it, the Crab Clan ones, and it's like, yes, you're like the merchant, which I think we agreed on was the least interesting of them. Then there's like literally like the purifier of spirits, which was interesting. Engineer could be really cool, especially with the stories you could take with the wall and everything like that. And then I think the scout we found to be narratively interesting because of the fiction that they imbued it with. If you were just a normal scout, it's like, oh yes, I'm the 5th edition ranger, love me. But it's not. It's like, oh yeah, I'm the scout, but I specifically am trained to deal with these very hostile environments, and it is my clan's purpose to actually protect the rest of Rokugan from the things beyond the wall. And I think that's very interesting.
One thing that just harped upon me, Tsar, you've been telling us a lot about interesting characters within the lore, Crane Clan characters, Crab Clan characters that have gone through many iterations. What this book could benefit from, and what I think a lot of RPGs could benefit from, is something like the iconic characters that like Pathfinder has, like iconic characters that you can say, okay, this is exactly what and Asahina Artificer is, and a description. Like D&D also doesn't really have that either. Like something that can immediately kind of bring out some of the aspects of the LCG and incorporate that lore into the book as we're going on. Because you're telling me a lot of really awesome lore, but in just going through this book, I don't have access to it unless I look up everything on the Wikipedia.
I can see a problem with that, though. I could see a problem with that. And that, like, if you say, okay, here is
that's true. Yeah,
the archetypal duelist, then they'll be like, oh, this is how FFG wants me to play the duelist. Like, I get where you're coming from because you want the narrative background. I think what would make more sense is if, instead of saying, like, here is one of the duelists from the lore, you could say, here's a table of potential plot hooks involving a duelist. Or here are some, potential storylines, things that you might be concerned about as a duelist. And then maybe
crane duelist. So that way you can
crane duelist.
The crane flavor.
Yeah. I think that would be a better way to do it.
So I'm just gonna mention this, but I'm gonna read something from page 107. This is in the advantages and disadvantages section. Before every the mechanics of each advantage or disadvantage, there's actually like a little short, maybe 2-3 paragraph fiction. So this is from Keen Hearing in page 107. Kakita Toshimoko crept silently across the darkened bedchamber, bearing his katana in one hand. With the other, he reached out and gently shook the sleeping form of Doji Hotaru, the Crane Clan champion. Immediately, she was awake and reaching for the blade at her bedside. Toshimoko quickly raised his finger to his lips, bidding her to keep silent. She nodded and rose from the bed, drawing her sword. Toshimoko leaned forward so Hotaru alone could hear him whisper. The castle has been breached. He cocked his head slightly, 5 clothed lightly on the roof. He moved his head slowly, focusing on the sound that only he could hear. One of them is carrying a kusagigama. its chains rattle slightly. Shinobi, Hotaru breathed. So we're getting a little bit of fiction. Like from that on, if you didn't know who Kakita Toshimoko was, you read that, you kind of get an idea who Kakita Toshimoko is, and that is in the book. And that's one thing I have to say that is a really good one. A good thing that they did, that they used one of the strength of L5R in this product.
I guess I would just like to see the lore. Sorry, Monty, go ahead.
I was just saying that, but the fact is that like you kind of have to read the whole book just to find that bit.
Yeah.
So like if I'm a Crane player, I'm like I need examples. It's like you'd have to basically have a GM who says, "Oh, look up keen hearing. There you go." And that's I don't know if that's very player friendly. That's fine.
No, I completely agree. Like I said, I've said this again. I've said it earlier today. I can't be in every single game store.
Yeah.
And really, what you're saying is really FFG needs something like I'm not saying me in every single game store, but something that they can educate players on next to this book.
And I find it funny because I'm the one assigned to write that flavor text.
Oh,
but not this one. I didn't write this one. But in the other books that I've read, I usually am assigned to write flavor text for the advantages and disadvantages.
Okay.
But for me, it's like I'm sitting there going like, well, I have 100 words to try to convey really important lore information, but also like what this advantage or disadvantage does. That's a lot of heavy lifting for like 100 words, right? And my personal, that would make it very frustrating for a player personally to like sort out all this info.
I mean, this is one of the challenges that L5R has in acquiring new fans. It's like, in order to really engage with the L5R community or play L5R as it is meant to be played or designed to be played, you have to not only read this core book, but read like all of these other things that aren't maybe game materials, but are instead fiction. And that makes it really difficult to get into L5R. But I mean, there is some really cool stuff here. Again, like aspects of the lore sound really good and really interesting, but it's again how they appear in the core book as game mechanics that I think we all take issue with that. It's that L5R. I think we might have been looking at this very differently if this was a campaign setting and not a rules, like a guide. Like if the the LCG and the CCG are so popular, they just make Rokugan the campaign setting for 5th edition D&D or whatever. I know there are also going to be problems there, but I don't know.
Well, that is the book that Steve read a little bit of, right? The Emerald Empire book. That is the campaign setting. That's not the campaign setting?
It sort of is. It's more of a source book detailing more about Rokugan.
It's like a supplement.
But what you described, Steve, happened. I'm sorry, Steve. Why did I call you Steve?
Monty.
But what you described actually did happen, and that was what we call Oriental Adventure, 3rd edition Oriental Adventures.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, it's like 3rd edition Oriental Adventures. That book has so many problems because it's not a campaign setting. You don't learn as much about Rokugan until the very end of the book, and it's like people didn't buy that book for I'm going to assume people didn't buy that book for that reason. Like, my mom bought me that book when I was younger because it's like, oh, there's rules to play Asian characters. Not like, here's an Asian world. There's rules for playing Asian characters. And I was like, this is cool. And then I opened it. I was like, I'm not using any of this. Close. But, like, I don't know. I don't think we necessarily have to have a solution for the problems that kind of come with L5R yet. Because we're what? 65 pages into the book.
Only two clans in.
Only 2 clans in, right? I know, like, we're going to have some words to say about the Dragon Clan next, and it's one that I'm very confused with because it's Chinese.
It's supposed to be China. They key Dragon to China, but nothing about it other than the monks are Chinese, really, and the Asahina. I have a lot to say about the Dragon. I mean, it's like I kind of appreciate that they are using a couple of Chinese influences when they did the Dragon, but a lot of it is just like if I didn't know anything about it, it's like I wouldn't even know that this was Chinese, right? It doesn't feel Chinese.
I mean, that's like there are aspects of it that look Chinese. I think that's the interesting thing. But anyways, we have run out of time. Sar, Monty, Jeremy, thank you for joining me for this Asians Read stream. I honestly have been really enjoying this series. It's been a completely different experience from, watching, from reading through Oriental Adventures. I personally am really keen, and I'm preparing to do a read through of Karatur: The Eastern Realms, the Oriental Adventures campaign setting.
Hey, Steve, just as an aside,
Steve, I'm not Steve. There's no Steve.
Yeah, why am I calling you Steve?
I'm calling him Steve. Daniel.
Damn.
It's okay. Don't worry.
The spirit of Steve. Sorry, Daniel.
Hey, that's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. This is an aside, but I was thinking about what you said maybe 2 or 3 streams ago when Steve asked you, Daniel, the question that I had asked him when we first talked about, does he want to see a new Karator? And you instantly said no to that. You don't care about Karator. You want to see it. The seed is too problematic to really deal with, in your opinion.
Yeah.
Would you be in favor of seeing Karator get a crazy lore explosion, kind of like what they did from D&D 4th edition to D&D 5th edition with the Sundering, where they just blow up Karator and then reorganize it via the lore and give it a new name?
That's the thing. If they were going to make a new realm and have a reboot,
like a new 52 to bring new 52 Karator.
New 52 Karator.
We're back there.
Honestly,
with another name and some lore thing happened.
I think
with the continents broke across and blah blah blah, and
a part of me is that would make sense, but I honestly don't think they need to have the world event where this happens. I don't think D&D players care enough.
Because that's so funny, because judging by their reactions to you taking apart Oriental Adventures, it feels like they really care so much.
I don't think I don't think they care about Karatur. I think they cared about Oriental Adventures as a mechanism for them to tell Asian stories. I say with air quotes. It's not the world of Karatur, because if you say, oh yes, there was this world-ending event, and Karatur is now this, then people will be like, I don't care. I'm just going to play in Karatur, and we're going to play an adventure before this world event happens. Right? You don't really do anything there. There are certainly elements of Karatur that aren't problematic, and if there was to be a new restructure, they could certainly be repurposed. So I'm in favor of maybe repurposing, but it's honestly, the act of repurposing sections of Karatur may cause more problems, because the writers, and ideally Asian writers, now have to work around the work of white people when they're making this.
And to bring it back to L5R, I kind of feel like this edition of L5R might have had to go through a similar process, because it is a reboot, but a lot of the problematic stuff that's been pointed out on this stream are remnants of this John Wick legacy.
And that's why I'm so anti rebooting Karatur.
All I'm going to say is this. Last week, I showed a picture of Kuniyori. A lot of people did not like that I showed a picture of Kuniyori.
Which one was Kuniyori again?
The one with the Fu Manchu.
Oh, yeah. But that in the 5th edition, in the LCG, there's still that.
It still has the Fu Manchu.
Yeah, I don't see the problem with that then. Showing it. I have a problem with that art. I don't see a problem with
people had a problem with me showing both versions of because they think that on the CCG I should not talk about the CCG at all, period, when I talk about L5R. But here's the thing, though. That Fu Manchu, if you just saw the LCG art of Kuniyori with the Fu Manchu, you had nothing to base that on other than the fact that this is an Asian guy with the Fu Manchu. Now, if FFG actually did print a picture of Kuniyori and print a card that says Kuniyori with the name Kuniyori on it, he's a crab, he's a Jugenja, and it's Kuniyori, but they did it without the Fu Manchu and without the robe and without the yellow peril, basically. Players would riot.
Yeah. I think the argument of not talking about the AEG L5R content, the John Wick stuff and the CCG stuff, I think the argument to say we shouldn't be talking about that is the same argument to say that we shouldn't be talking about Oriental Adventures in the first place, because it's not being used. right? That's how I view it. So when I see people who say, you shouldn't be talking about this, L5R 5th edition is an improvement. I think the thinking there is incorrect, because like you can't improve until you acknowledge what you need to improve on.
Exactly.
And that's what we're doing with this series. We're pointing out, hey, this is where the 5th edition is flawed, and where do these flaws come from? Many of them come from either like present day ignorance, a reliance on old ignorant rules, and the legacy of these artistic depictions of the fictional characters. So in order to, I won't say fix, because we're not being paid by FFG, but in order to critique and provide, our own analysis of the 5th edition L5R core rulebook, we have to look at the old stuff because it puts it into context.
Yeah.
It's like talking about 5th edition D&D and the problems of D&D and their current survey, and not talking about Gary Gygax. Right? We can't ignore the past. And like, as somebody who was like an archaeologist, you can't ignore the past, because if you ignore the past, you ignore all of the harmful things that people have done, and you are destined to repeat those same things if you do not know the warning signs.
Someone in the chat mentioned that, John Wick is making a new Asian setting for 7th C, 2nd edition.
You know what? You want to know a funny story about that?
Oh, yes.
So one of the first writing gigs I ever got, I'm not going to mention who, and you probably know, they're a great person, but somebody approached me and was like, hey, do you want to write for 7th Kitai, which is the Asian setting, right? Do you want to write on this? And I said, sure. And I said, send me a contract and we'll do all this stuff. And they took a real long time to send me anything. And, I was really excited, one of my first writing gigs, so I just started writing. And basically what happened was, with all of that 7th stuff, they ran out of money.
Yes.
And
until Chaosium bought them.
Yeah, they ran out of money and they couldn't pay me. So I didn't get a contract. So everything that I wrote for 7th, I converted into Dungeons and Agents.
Nice.
So literally everything I wrote, I was like, I'm going to keep this then, because I wrote it before I was under contract, and I was just like real excited. I'm like, I'm going to keep it. So like one of the first things I wrote was actually in the first episode of Dungeons and Asians, the whole town with the living pottery. That was all stuff I was writing for 7th.
Awesome.
So I got to keep it. So like I'm really, really happy with that. But yeah, I think we're going to eventually do a podcast episode about this whole 7th thing, because behind the scenes there is stuff happening that the public doesn't know about. So yeah, it's going to happen.
You got to keep your micro RPG.
I got to keep my micro RPG and turn it into a show.
Nice.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah. So Ken said 7th to D&D to Quest. Yeah. So I'm super stoked. Super stoked about like what we're doing right now, and that I got to actually keep that, because if they paid me and I handed that in, I mean, what we did for Dungeons and Asians would be completely different. Like the Asian stuff that I've written for Wizards of the Coast is completely different from what I did for our show, because I wanted to separate them. But that being said, what do we have going on? Any of you have anything you want to shout out? Like Jeremy, I know you got your blog and all that, and your general career stuff that you do is awesome. Monty, I know I don't think you're allowed to talk about the things that. Nope.
Talk about anything.
can't talk about that stuff yet.
Yeah.
But in the future there will be things, and even if the stream, if we're not doing an L5R stream, then please let me know so I can shout them out for you. Sorry, you got anything going on? And then we'll go to Jeremy, because I know Jeremy's got stuff to share.
Not for me personally, but I know the community is getting ready for a big. I think it's about 108. It's over like 180 players playing globally online. They're about to start a huge L5 tournament. So good luck to everyone playing. May the best team win, and that team better be not Darren's team.
Okay.
That's all I gotta say.
Throw it shade. Now, Jeremy, what have you got to share?
Yes,
I know you got...
I would like to promote my blog, pixelgrotto.tumblr.com. I'm probably the last person that still has a Tumblr account. I don't use it like anyone else. I've been using it since 2013 to write like long essays about the games I play, video games and tabletop games. There's a link to it on my Twitter feed. Basically, like the most recent entry on there is from like a month ago, and kind of my experiences running Waterdeep Dragon Heist, the D&D campaign, which is a bit of a mess of a source book in my opinion, but I ran it for 2 different groups simultaneously for a year, and that was an interesting experience. Yeah, I ran it for one group that was all guys and one group that was all girls, and they both tackled the intricacies of the plot very differently, so that was fun. And then in kind of my general career for the HuffPost, I did some cool writing this week. I got to interview the RZA.
No way.
Of the Wu-Tang Clan. Yeah, I got 15 minutes with him to talk about like this new project he did, where he basically put out a new ice cream jingle to replace this really old problematic ice cream song playing from Vans in the United States that has really egregiously awful roots. And I got 15 minutes to chat with him. So if you go to the HuffPost website and look up my name, Jeremy Blum, Blum, you can see my articles on there. I recently have had to do a lot of political stuff involving Fox News that isn't very emotionally taxing. But other than that, like interviewing the RZA was the highlight of my week.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
cool.
super, super gracious, very inspiring to listen to, and very, just very, very kind, and just listening to him, you feel like, a lot of passion for music just flying off of him. And that was great to hear.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. As for me, I don't think I have too much going on aside from all of this podcast stuff. If you are watching this on YouTube, you'll see this on our channel a little bit later. But if you're watching our stream live right now, tomorrow at noon Eastern, we're going to have another episode of our Al-Qadim Arabian Adventures stream. This is kind of our sibling stream to the Oriental Adventures, or sequel to Oriental Adventures. Amar and his amazing cast and crew are actually reading through Al-Qadim Arabian Adventures, and tomorrow just happens to be the episode when the crew is going to tackle honor.
Ooh.
And having read ahead, my God, this honor section is worse than anything L5R, than anything Oriental Adventures.
Ooh.
Really?
Yeah. But if you want to find out, you could tune in tomorrow on Twitch, or watch it later when it's on YouTube. So we have star-studded cast and crew for that series. In my personal life, I am currently working on part 2 of a little experimental zine I've been doing on my itch page. It's called Denizens of Mountains and Seas. I do it through Patreon, patreon.com/Daniel H. Kwan, and I've been designing and writing zines about classical Chinese literature and the monsters that are found in it, with the intention of one day just compiling all of them into a book full of Chinese monsters, Chinese weapons, and Chinese classes. So yeah, you can check me out there. That being said, everybody, this has been, even though the clans have been a lot lighter in terms of how, like, emotions, make sure you take care of yourselves. Same with you, audience. It's late here on the East Coast of North America, but take care of yourselves. Spend some time with your families. Decompress. I'm going to actually go spend some time with my partner, so there won't be a post-stream chat. I also wanted to set the expectation that we aren't going to be doing those every week. But if you folks are already a member of our Discord community, please feel free to engage in very respectful conversation in our post-stream chat channel. Be nice to each other, be kind to each other, be empathetic of each other's time and emotional labor. Please don't, immediately ask for emotional labor if somebody hasn't consented to that. Please take care of each other. Please continue these conversations, and please respect other people's perspectives of Legend of the Five Rings. That being said, everyone, have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. Monty, Jeremy, Sar, as usual, it is a pleasure chatting with you every Friday. This is one of the highlights of my week. I love doing this, and I can't wait for us to go into the Dragon Clan next. That's the next one, right? Dragon Clan.
Yep, Dragon Clan.
Dragon Clan.
I think it's going to be way heavier than the first two. All right. Well, bye, everyone.